What's up, guys? Welcome back to the CMH show. Hey, I want to give you guys an outline of what my expectations are for AI and what's coming to the world. I say a survival guide. It's probably a little bit melodramatic, but I do want to prepare you guys for what I see coming. Some of these, my original chart was all over the place, so I've simplified it as much as I can. I'm going to try to speak to every point that I can, and I'm going to give you guys some tips, guidelines, specifically if you're a business owner, of what I would be doing and what we're personally doing to prepare for what's coming. So let's go ahead and jump in. All right, so I broke this down into eras. Let me get out of my own way here. All right, and let me zoom in. All right, so here's where we are now. That should be big enough for everybody to see, right? Yep, looks good. Okay, so what I'm labeling is the adoption era, the adapt era, the expansion era, the AGI crisis era, the energy crisis era, and the new paradigm era. Now, this is the part I'm most concerned about, these two eras right here, right? And I'm going to speak to that when I get there. But I want to talk to where we are now, and then I'll get there, so bear with me. So what we've been experiencing the last couple of years is the adoption era, right? For the first time ever, Google is starting to see their numbers in decline. Like, people are starting to talk about, oh, just ask Grok or just use ChatGPT. You don't hear people say as much, Google it, right? It's been a while since you've heard people say that. That doesn't mean people aren't using Google anymore, but what it means is that using AI, I've had several clients actually recently say, I didn't remember my life. Like, how did we function before AI? And so these language models now are becoming a part of our daily lives. In fact, to the point that you can't even imagine your life without it. It's like, imagine your life without your phone, imagine your life without your car, imagine your life without technology or electricity. Like, they're becoming vital parts of our lives and wildly adopted, right? So people start to, in this era, people adopt language models and start changing behavioral patterns online, right? So as you probably would agree, we're already here, right? We've already been beyond here. Now, once we saw that became not just a trend, but something that people were adopting at scale, we knew that we're not early adopters, we're timely adapters, meaning myself, my company, and my team, right? We're timely adapters. I'm not trying to compete in the early adoption era because I'm not resourced enough to compete with OpenAI or with Elon Musk and build my own language model. But what I can do is I can be a timely adapter once I know that new paradigm has been established. So right now, I would say we are between the adoption and the timely adapt era, meaning people are just now starting to use AI to its true capacity, not just as a fact checker or to create funny little deep fakes on the internet, but they're starting to use it to enhance their lives. And as business owners, you're starting to utilize it to run your business like you never have before, whether that's from a research perspective where you're doing market research with your little tool that you utilize. I use Grok. I chat with Grok all the time about market research. That's my background, is market research. And so I use it all the time. Tell me about this study. Tell me about this demographic. Tell me about things that you're seeing on the internet relating to what I'm trying to sell, right? It is literally my co-pilot when it comes to market research. We're using it in ways with our clients that we've never used before. And I don't even want to share because I don't think people are doing this just yet, but utilizing things like custom GPTs in really powerful ways. Most people probably don't even know what a custom GPT is. I would say probably only 20% of people really know what it is. And I would say maybe a fraction of that actually knows its true capacity or power. I would say maybe 5% total know what it's truly capable of. And that's changing every single day. So the big kicker here is that the producers, meaning the business owners, the people that are, being timely adapters and still moving forward in their business in a new way, they're starting to run their business and do things like never before. Now, this is going to lead to the adaptation era, but I want to speak to that for just a quick second here. The powerful thing about here is how many times in your business, if you're a business owner, you've said to yourself, oh my gosh, there's just so many things that I don't want to do, but they just have to be done. Well, the era of not having to do that anymore, the era of sitting down to do things you don't want to do anymore, it's quickly ending, whether that's monotonous work or even just sitting down and writing emails for a promotion. Like, you can literally talk to whatever language model of you're choosing, preferably one that's trained on your voice, and say, here's what I'm doing, here's my promotion, I need some emails, write me 10 emails. And within seconds, after you load that data, if it's trained on your voice, you probably have all the emails you need for that promotion. Doesn't mean they're going to be good, but it means they'd be done. And so for a lot of people, just getting it done was such a heavy lift, that's no longer the issue anymore. So the person plus AI infusion, bringing AI as basically your personal assistant in many ways, your thought leader partner, your research partner, and whatever ways you're utilizing it, this is the adapt era. We are changing the way we do things fundamentally. People are getting laid off because companies are infusing AI in ways that they weren't able to before. And so that's scary for a lot of people, rightfully so. But if you are being a producer in the marketplace, I think we're going to lead into what's next, which is the expansion era. And so with friction removed or reduced, at least, right, scale and abundance explodes. Now, here's what's going to be super, super important. And I don't want to be doomsday scenario here, but the track that we're on is not great, right? We're at the point where our debt is spiraling. I'm in the US. Our debt is spiraling out of control. Inflation is spiraling out of control. The average age now of new home buyers is like 40 years old. Basically, a lot of our economy at this point is driven by few, not many. And so many people are struggling. In fact, there's kids that are graduating, they can't find jobs because the jobs look different now. We're now fully in an employer market, not an employee market. It's wild. And so I don't want to get down to too much of a rabbit hole in terms of, economics and fundamentals about money. If you know anything about me, I'm a huge Bitcoin bro, and I think that Bitcoin is going to play a huge role in all this. I'll touch on that here in a second. But we're going to have to fundamentally fix that component. But it starts with reducing the costs that are required to do certain things. Meaning, think of all the touch points from production to grocery shelf into your home, right? Many, many touch points. Energy costs more, gas costs more, transporting it costs more. The cost to shelve it costs more. Like wages have gone up, right? So like money isn't worth as much anymore, right? Most of the money that was printed over the last 5 years, it's obscene. It's I don't know the exact number, but I think something like 80% of the dollars in circulation were printed in the last 5 to 6 years. So we've created such an inflationary environment, and people don't really understand what that means. What it means fundamentally is your money is worth less. Now, there are things that temporarily cause inflation, right? Like, what happened in 2020 with the world being shut down and, lumber costs going through the roof because supply chains were disrupted. Those are temporary things. But things that become more permanent, right, are things that debase the currency. And that's been happening for over 100 years where we've been debasing our currency. The dollar, as it were, back then, 100 years ago, is worth something like 99% less than it was then, right? Like it's fundamentally now we have to have 2-income homes, right? We have to live at home longer than we ever have before. We're waiting, like I said, until 40 to buy a house. So again, I don't want to be a doomsday sayer, but this expansion era is going to reverse a lot of that. It's why Elon Musk, if you listen to him, it's why he has pushed so strongly on AI, because his exposure to government and realizing how broken it really is in the depths of the corruption there, he's like, this is irreparable. Like, this can't be fixed. This can't be solved. I better go move towards a new paradigm, which is exactly what he's doing. So lowering the means of production in terms of cost, amplifying the means of output, because these AI robotics or just AI models and all this infusion of AI and different various formattings and use cases is going to lower costs so profoundly that you're going to see, if there's any chance for the current fiat model to work in terms of currencies, it's going to require something where we roll into massive expansion. Now, here's what that means for you. Your ability to grow because of the fact that you removed all the friction, because of the fact that you have automated so many of your processes, you have your AI agents, you have your GPTs you're utilizing, you're creating transformation for your clients and deliverables like never before. I think this is going to be your era to maybe win bigger than you ever have, ever in life. Like, I think this is the season for business owners and producers to generate income, once in a lifetime opportunity, maybe once in human history opportunity. I fully believe that. And so this right here, right now, is an amazing window for you to absolutely crush what I believe is the end of an era. And I know we're talking about eras a lot here, but I mean, in terms of the labor economy era, this is your opportunity right now to win like you've never won before. Fully believe that. We are fully committed to that on our side of things. We're looking at it in 2 to 5 year windows of just doing the most we can and having a sense of urgency around that. Now, I'm gonna get a little bit on the slight negative. This is the part I'm worried about, is right here. These two I'm worried about. Let me move myself out of the way here, actually, so I can speak to you guys more clearly. So we got those two down, right? Where we are, what's coming, what to expect, whatever. Now, let me talk about these three, right? This is where things get a little weird. Now, these are predictions, and I could be wrong. I hope in many cases that I am, but I do think that the other side of this looks like something we've never seen before in a positive way. It's just going to look different. But think about back in the day when we gave up our jobs of plowing the fields, that machine's now doing a fraction of the time with a fraction of the effort. Like you would have clung to that. You clung to your job working in a factory looking at widgets. Now a machine does that. Like if somebody made you go back to doing that work now, you'd be like, yeah, right, I'm not doing that. That's a horrible job. I think we're going to look back and say the same thing about this. It's just what we don't know, the unknown is really scary, right? So when I did my episode recently on my concerns about AI, this is the era I was talking about. The job displacement that we saw last week at the time I'm recording this is what concerns me. It's the transition part. It's the part of going from what was into what is and what's becoming. So I think what you're going to see is one, maybe these two invert, maybe, but these two are going to happen somewhere around the same time and it's going to cause an issue, right? One is the AGI crisis. Now, most people don't know what this means. This is artificial generalized intelligence. So what we have now is single function AI. It's trained to do one specific thing. AGI is like next gen AI in a sense of, and so a technologist would explain this better than I would, but broad strokes, right? AGI can basically reason and deduce and critically think like a human being. For all intents and purposes, it would fundamentally act as close to a human being as possible. Now, it takes insane amounts of power to drive AGI. This is not a light switch situation. This is a slow evolution. It's not like one day we wake up and AGI exists, right? Like AGI is already in the process of development, but it's complicated and it's going to take a ton of processing power. It's going to take a ton of actual energy to drive, which is why I said what I said before that I'll talk about in a minute, which is an energy-based, resource-based economy, which I think is inevitable. I really believe that. So robust AGI models can basically replace all of us and a new species is born. Now, that probably sounds horrifying to you, and to some degree it does to me as well, because we don't know. Will this thing grow up to love us? Will this thing grow up and reason that we're actually like a plague on humanity? Will it reason that we're, the things we're flawed, right? But we're beautifully flawed. And that doesn't, I don't say it to sound like some woo-woo hipster or whatever. But I do think that there is beauty in our imperfections. And we have to hope that AGI sees it that way. I mean, really, we do. So robust AGI models will basically replace, candidly, 80, 90% of the jobs. If you do a job with your hands, like you provide a service, like I would say, like you're a healthcare practitioner in a sense of you're using your like dentistry, chiropractics, things of that nature, plumbing, electrician, things of that nature, I think you would extend your timeline a little bit. If your job is at a desk, probably going to be gone at this point. And I do think that the concept of UBI or a tech tax, so universal basic income, or a tech tax is probably going to come into play here because of the transitional season that we'll be in, right? Now, that probably, again, sounds terrifying, but keep in mind, this expansion era could really set you up for a new paradigm in a sense of you have made so much money and hopefully you've invested it in companies that are going to be exploding in growth, right? Or commodities that are going to explode in growth, like Bitcoin, right? Like Bitcoin's going to be worth millions of dollars, probably at least $1 million per coin by the time this happens. Right? That's a subjective. That's my prediction. Again, you might disagree with that, but I'm a big Bitcoin bro because of a lot of the reasons we're talking about here. You need to fix the money. You need something that runs autonomously, that is immutable, that's transparent, and that operates, again, on a decentralized basis versus one that's centralized with what we currently have. Again, I'm going to stop myself. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But this will change everything once AGI is in full motion and capacity, right? So making sure that I always talk about your riches and your wealth machine, making sure that you use your riches machine to generate liquidity here through the vehicle that is your business or your job, hopefully your business, because businesses, you can obviously, tomorrow you could ramp up your revenues. You can't necessarily do that and get a promotion tomorrow, even if you wanted to. That's not really in your control, right? At least not directly. This era here of AGI, hopefully by then you've invested in the companies that are going to be leading the charge in the future. Like I would highly recommend, like a Tesla, for example, like they're leading the charge. They are so far ahead, it's unbelievable in all fronts. Invest in energy, right? I believe we're gonna have to go nuclear because of what I'm gonna talk about next, which is the energy crisis. Like we're gonna have to create vast amounts of energy to drive these AI models, to drive these robotics. Think about it. If Optimus robots are running your local grocery store, they don't need a smoke break. They need a charge break, right? If you're going to run things like quantum, you're going to run things which is probably going to be required to run AGI, like that's so much processing power and actual energy consumption. Like, we're going to have we can't do it right now. Like, we don't have the energy output to drive these things right now. It just doesn't exist in our current formatting. So investing in things like that, flipping your riches machine of liquidity into your wealth machine, which is you're growing your money passively, this would be extremely wise, specifically because the expansion era is going to lead to things costing much less, and AGI will even further reduce what things cost. So if you're saddling up and hitching your wagon to companies that are growing exponentially, that even if you're acquiring UBI, meaning let's say everybody gets, like OpenAI, for example, they have suggested that the parent company of ChatGPT, for those who don't know, Sam Altman has suggested UBI up to $10,000 a month. In other words, these tech companies are going to be growing so much and generating so much that a tech tax would be applied to pay people that are displaced because they don't have a job because it doesn't exist anymore, upward range of $10,000 a month. So you would literally have a six-figure income just because, right? Now, again, I think that's ambitious. I think more like probably 2,000 to 5,000 is more realistic. But then from that point forward, keep in mind, that's 2,000 to 5,000 with the new paradigm. So imagine if things cost 95% less than they do now across the board, how much further your dollar would stretch. And then again, now I'm back to my Bitcoin conversation because Bitcoin is growing and there's a limited supply. So again, there's a double whammy of fixing this problem that we're in, and it involves fixing the money, but also massively enhancing the means of production. And we're doing both if we couple those two together. And if you throw in energy on top of that, in my mind, that's the trifecta. That's the trifecta. Fix the money, enhance the production at crazy level ways, and provide energy sourcing that creates a massive surplus, right? Because now what you have is you have an energy-based economy. Your money's built on energy with Bitcoin. Your technology and your means of production are built on energy, and you yourself can latch on in really powerful ways, right, to lending resources you have to drive the systems that are. Example, there's shared GPU platforms like Render token, right? So it's a decentralized token that basically it empowers you to lend your GPU processing power in a shared environment in which you are incentivized for sharing processing power. So you're talking about running models like this that take an insane amount of processing power. It's going to require the collective, right? It's like it requires a network effect, right? So you can participate in ways in the future, I envision it'll be with your phone, where you can literally use your phone to be a part of a network that lends your resources to the network, and you're incentivized for doing so. Networks like Helium, right, where you can literally create a local area network of internet service to people in your general area, and you're incentivized earning tokens for doing so. This is what that new paradigm looks like, where you're going to be able to earn money and have generated income on top of your UBI without literally doing anything other than lending things that you own, participating in the network, authenticating transactions, right, by part of the network. And this is autonomous. It's just lending things you own to a network that's driven on these rails that allow you to capitalize on. Like, that's the power of the world that be. Plus, as mentioned, things are going to cost exponentially less. You see how, like, it seems scary, but then when you really understand where things are actually going, you're like, oh, wait, like, so I would like work optionally and things will cost less, and I'll have opportunities to make money passively with things that I already own by participating in networks like relay networks. Like, I even had an idea about a counter AI relay network where basically you would be part of a network that drives counter AI defense. So think like Norton antivirus or AVG or McAfee, but against AI. So like deep fakes or hacking or stealing identities. That needs to be decentralized. Like, we need to have a collective, a network effect, because if we don't, you have single point failure because of centralized hubs. They'll just be attacked by these AI models. And now next thing you know, you've got AVG or Norton completely kaput because those servers were attacked because they're at a centralized location, which is easy to attack. But if you have a collective effort, it's kind of like guerrilla warfare, right? Like, everybody on the network that's a part of this counter AI program that is actually attacking malicious AI and stopping these threats on behalf of the collective, to protect the collective, to protect individuals that are at risk, you would be paid accordingly by earning tokens for being a part of that network. That was an idea that I had literally like 2 weeks ago that I'm like, ooh, we need this, right? So like, these are opportunities that don't exist right now that'll become very prevalent going forward. but it is going to require us to go through an energy crisis era. Candidly, this energy crisis era may come before the AGI crisis. I could flip both of these and make an argument for it, but for the sake of the conversation, rather, let's assume that it plays out this way. Either way, it's still that weird transitional season that I think it's going to catch people off guard if you're not watching videos like this, right? Okay, so let's talk about the last one here, which is the new paradigm era. Now, again, I'm not trying to sound woo-woo, I promise, but I think this new paradigm era is work looks different. If it exists at all, it could be optional. Like you could do things that you love, do things that you enjoy. If you're a writer, you could write. If you're a theologian, you could do that and not have to worry about paying the bills. Like because we live in such an era of abundance. I think this new paradigm era will bring about abundance that we've never seen before. Most things will be run on their own autonomously, and we get to return to real. We weren't born to pay bills and then kaput, right? I don't want to say that word on YouTube because it'll be blocked if I say the actual word, but you know what I'm saying, right? We weren't born to pay bills, work for 50 years, and then hopefully there's enough money in Social Security for us to actually have enough money until we're gone. Like we've built familiarity around that model, but is it really living? And so this era to me is a return to real. It's a return to maybe what God intended for us. Now I know, God intended us to, work in the land and use our hands. And I do believe that there's purpose and meaning behind those things. But imagine if you could just do it because you loved it, not because, oh my gosh, if I don't generate new clients this month, I'm not going to be able to pay my rent because rent has gone up 10 times from when I, first started paying rent when I graduated from college, right? Or homes now cost, $500,000 for a basic standard 1,900 square foot house in areas where it used to cost $225,000. Like that's what I mean. Like we're barreling down a path right now that if we don't enter into a new paradigm, I don't know that the current paradigm ends well. I think you would agree with that statement if you really think about it objectively or as objectively as you can. So money and work looks totally different. Life is more affordable than ever. I will hedge many bets on this being the reality once we get through this era here. And I know for a fact, guys like Elon, this is what they're trying to do. This is what they're trying to build. Now, they're not addressing the money equation, and I think that's going to be fundamentally important. We need honest money, transparent money, immutable money, and right now we don't have that. Again, that'll be a topic for another day. I'm not going more down that rabbit hole now, but I think if you pair, again, the trifecta, fix the money, fix the energy, and fix the means of production by massive enhancement, I think what you'll see is this era here where you literally live in a way that's so low stress. You get to wake up, do what you want. If you're a gamer, you're going to be gaming all day and you're not going to have to worry about where the next meal's coming from. You're just going to do what you love. You love music. You love art. You love creating things. You'll have AI to be able to say, hey, I want to create this. Boom, it'll be done. I want to create this platform. Boom, it's done. So the era of creating new things, of living the life that you wanted to live, of not a utopia. I'm not technocratic in a sense that I think it's going to be utopia. I think we'll have our struggles. Again, I think it's going to be around meaning, right? Like am I just a cog in the wheel on this thing now? Like I'm not actually involved in ways that actually are beneficial because everything's already done. And I think we're going to have some existential questions around that. But I do think that overall, if we embrace and accept this over the next 5 to 10 years, maybe sooner the way this is evolving, you can position yourself to get through this turbulent transitional season into really understanding that ultimately the alternative on the similar path we're on looked way worse than what this new paradigm era is going to look like. Now, again, there's so many nuances that I'm not covering here because I was extremely long-winded and I kept it as brief and concise as I could and still lacked brevity. But hopefully you get an idea, in my opinion, prediction-wise, of where things are coming. Feel free to drop in the comments and be like, dude, you're absolutely crazy and insane. I know this, but this is how I'm seeing things and this is how I'm seeing things play out. But I want to hear your predictions too. What did I miss? What do you want me to cover next? Are there different eras you want me to talk about in more depth? And I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback. So if you're a business owner, this is your time. This is your era. This next 2 to 5 years are what I can feasibly say are going to be expansion era, adaptation era, make money like never before. This is your time and season to absolutely win. And if you're wanting to do so, I would highly encourage you to consider joining our group coaching program because we can help you implement in ways that are going to get you ahead of the pack. We just had a mastermind last week, literally, where we help people integrate AI into their business in ways that I guarantee you they're at least a year, maybe 2 or 3 ahead of people. This is not a season you want to be behind. This is a season you want to get ahead. This is a season you want to make sure that you are positioning yourself for what I think is that era of abundance in that expansion era. And then you've got everything you need to survive whatever transitional season remains thereafter. So if you are interested in that, I'm going to drop it in the description, as well as the first comment that I'll pin. If you want to check out our group coaching program, no pressure. You can talk to me about it. If it's a good fit, it's a good fit. If it's not, it's not. It is what it is. But I will plan on seeing you guys in the next one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Peace.